In what was maybe their most important game of the last 5 years, going all the way back to 2019, the Detroit Pistons put up a very disappointing loss against the Milwaukee Bucks, get blown out, and do not move on to the next stage of the in-season tournament. We'll discuss why this loss was so disappointing in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Also, make sure you guys head over to LockedOnDaily.com, type in your email, and you'll get a Locked On Pistons daily newsletter along with your daily podcast, obviously, from Locked On Pistons. But later on, I want to discuss, is the Pistons season slowly starting to fall apart? And let's look ahead to the future part of their schedule. Obviously, tomorrow night, by the time you guys listen to this, maybe tonight. But on the back end of this back-to-back, they are now playing the Boston Celtics. So the schedule is not very kind to the Detroit Pistons this week. It's going to be rough, I think, this week for the Pistons. But let's go ahead and get into the game that everyone cares about. The Pistons lost this game to the Milwaukee Bucks. The win and get-in game for the in-season tournament to move on to the quarterfinals. At home, in Detroit, they lose 128-107. I have quite a few thoughts about this game. And I think there's going to be some fans that dislike where I go with this. But, look, I was there for this game. The Detroit Pistons gifted me some tickets. Dope of them. I really appreciate them. They got me some tickets to go to this game. Really good seats right behind the Pistons bench. Look, I know I want to get into other parts of the game, but I know one of the main things that's being talked about right now in the Pistons community is the fouls, is how often the Pistons fouled, and the officiating going both ways. I just want to say this. Two things. One, the Pistons finished with more free throws than the Milwaukee Bucks. They shot 22, the Bucks shot 21. They had 21 fouls, the Bucks had 17. It wasn't this crazy discrepancy in the fouls. That's first. That can't be an excuse. Just can't be. That's number one. Number two, if being there in person, watching this game, Giannis Antetokounmpo is like Shaq, he is like LeBron. Complaining about him getting fouled is going to be something I'm never going to be on board with, because if you watch it live, if you're there that close in person, he's getting fouled damn near every single time he touches the ball. I mean, that's just the truth. Now, they're not going to call it every time because he plays physical, and they'll allow you to be a certain level of physical right back at him. But if they really wanted to, just like with LeBron, just like with Shaq, just like with freaking natures like those guys, they're really being fouled almost every time they touch the ball. So when he does get a foul call, I'm not going to sit there and be mad about it. There's not one foul call that he got where I'm like, oh, they weren't physical with him or they didn't get a foul. Like, that's just what happens. When you are Giannis, when you are LeBron, when you are Shaquille O'Neal, you are going to be that much more physically dominant, more strong. You're a freak of nature, and no one's going to be able to match up with you, especially on the Pistons. So I don't want to hear the free throws. He shot 12 free throws. Every single one of them, he deserved them. He deserved all of them. He was more physical than the Pistons. He takes them to whoever's guarding him, and you just get put into foul trouble. This happens to anyone who tries to guard Giannis. This is not exempt to the Detroit Pistons. Anyone who tries to guard Giannis is going to deal with this issue. This is not an excuse. Miss me with that excuse. Using the officiating as an excuse is a loser behavior. It's straight up loser behavior. You had a chance to win this game, or not to win this game, but you had a chance to come in tonight and try to win this game and play extremely well, and they didn't play well on either end of the floor. The officiating is not why they lost this game, and the officiating wasn't that lopsided. The Pistons shot more free throws. They only had 4 more fouls called on them. Yes, Giannis shot 12 free throws. He's more physical than anyone on the court tonight, and he's probably going to be more physical than anyone you're going to see this season for the Detroit Pistons. Miss me with that officiating excuse. Honestly, he could have had more than 12 free throws. He could have had more. Every single night, Giannis probably feels like he should have scored or gotten more free throws. This is how it goes when you guard Giannis. And the Pistons, let's get into the game now. The Pistons just don't have the big enough bodies to play this Milwaukee Bucks team. When they are at full strength, they just don't have the right defensive personnel to guard this team. And like we talked about with Bryce Simon on the last episode, like I've talked about over the last week and a half, the Detroit Pistons started off 6th in defense in the first 13-ish games, 12-ish games. They were punching above their weight class. You are starting to see that defense come back to where it probably should be with the talent they have. They just aren't big enough, and they don't have the personnel to guard teams like this. For example, they started off this game with Jalen Duren guarding Giannis with Tobias on Brook Lopez. That's probably the best you can do, but now you have Tobias on Brook Lopez, which is going to be a mismatch. You have Duren, who's going to get into foul trouble on Giannis, which he absolutely did. He had 5 fouls, was only able to play 19 minutes in this game. He's not going to be able to stay in front of Giannis consistently. I thought he started off the game playing extremely well defensively, but as the game goes on, Giannis is just going to wear on you, and he gets them into foul trouble. He fouled out Isaiah Stewart. He got Jalen Duren to 5 fouls, and then on Damian Lillard, you got THJ and Jaden Ivey guarding Damian Lillard. Like, come on. You just don't have... Like, these are the guys the Pistons are throwing out there on Damian Lillard. They don't got the defensive personnel to guard him. And if you don't got Isaiah Stewart or Jalen Duren on Giannis, by the way, when you do have them, you then have a small guy on Brook Lopez, which causes, maybe not Brook Lopez scoring, but it then causes rotations to happen because you don't want to give him an open bucket underneath the rim with the mismatch. You have rotations happening. You have advantages being created by the other team. It's just a massive problem. And then you get open threes, which the Milwaukee Bucks did get tonight. They hit 23 threes. A lot of them were open. They were hot. But every time a team gets open threes against the Pistons, you can't come out and say they were just hot. They're getting open threes. The Bucks were getting wide open threes. Did Dame hit a few tough threes? Yeah, but it's Damian Lillard. He's been doing it for 12 years. He's hit tough threes for 12 years. At the end of the day, a tough three for Dame is not a tough three. A tough three for Dame is an easy shot. It's a shot he's probably going to hit 40% of the time. Like, you can't, like, there's just a bunch of excuse making going on. The Pistons did not show up and play well tonight. They don't have the defensive personnel. They were not good on their rotations tonight, especially to the weak side corner. They give up a lot of threes to the weak side corner. They had quite a few mismatches on the court. They had multiple times, I'm there in person watching the interactions, where they mess up a switch and the players are looking at each other wondering, who messed it up? Why didn't you switch? I thought you were going to... Like, they had multiple defensive breakdowns. Did Milwaukee shoot incredibly well from beyond the arc? Yes. Did the Pistons contribute to them shooting that well? 100%. They did not play well defensively. And a lot of it just has to do with the fact they just don't have the defensive personnel. They just really don't. You're starting to see the defense fall back to where it probably should be with this roster. One of the main plays that the Bucks were running that the Pistons just really couldn't guard was the Giannis Antetokounmpo pick and roll. He'd call up whoever, whether it be Cade's man, whether it be Ivy's man, whether it be Tobias's man, he's calling them up for a pick and roll. And what the Pistons are doing in the pick and roll, whoever's guy is setting the screen, they're coming up and showing because they want to stop Giannis from just going full head of steam straight to the basket. What that causes, though, is that guy who's setting the screen is just ghost slipping to the opposite wing for an open three. And what ends up happening there, Giannis either throws that pass or the guy in the weak side corner then feels like they have to rotate up to that wing or he's going to get open three. Now you got a weak side corner open three happening. I mean, they were generating open threes off that action over and over again. And it's because the Pistons just don't have the personnel to match up with Giannis and his physicality and his ability to cause mismatches. It's going to be an issue for the Pistons. They don't have great rotation on the back end. So, look, the Bucks were hot, yes. But the Pistons didn't play well. And that's just staying on defense. I wanted to go after the defense because I saw a lot of talk about it in the community, and it's just misplaced. It's a bunch of excuse making. It's loser mentality. You don't come out here and you lose by 21 points, get blitzed like this from almost the opening tip, and talk about the officiating. Like, especially when you end up with more free throws than them. You just don't. That's straight up loser behavior. But now let's go to the offensive side of the floor. They just didn't do enough offensively. I'm going to look at one person. Cade, listen. Cade, I believe full-heartedly in Cade. It's one game. And look, if you look at his stat line, he shot 9-16, 56 from the floor, 56% from the floor. He shot 3 of 6 from deep, 50% from deep. 2 of 6 from the free throw line. I don't know what's going on with you, Cade. The free throws has to stop. I don't know what's going on. This year, you're having your worst free throw shooting year. You just shot 87% last year. Don't know what's going on. That can't keep happening. You have to pull it together at the free throw line. I don't know what's going on with you this year. You need to get back to being 87% free throw shooter like you've been throughout your career. Don't know what's happening this year, but that's unacceptable. But that's not where I want to go with this. In a game like this, where the Pistons are starting to fall behind, and the game's starting to get out of hand, Cade has to take more shots. He has to take more shots than 16. He just has to. They need Cade to try to take over the game. Try to take over the game. And even if it probably wouldn't have mattered. They probably would have lost still because of everything that was going on throughout the game. But Cade, for my liking, was way too passive and more so just like letting the game. I understand the whole letting the game come to you, but sometimes you got to force the issue. Sometimes you got to take more shots. Sometimes you got to look for your own shot in the mid-range. He has to start doing that, especially when this team is starting to lose grip on the game. Is that the only reason why the Pistons lost? No. And would he have saved them and got them a win? No. It wouldn't have happened. The other team was just shooting way better and they were generating better shots. Yes, that is the case. But it would have been I feel like it could have been a more competitive game if Cade is just more aggressive looking for his more shots. This game, Cade needs to shoot more than 22 times. In a game like this, when the Bucks are starting to pull away and Giannis is really just taking it to him, Cade needs to come down and he needs to take 22 shots in this game at least. He needs to let it fly. He needs to be getting aggressive, getting to his spots, trying to score the basketball. Again, a fine stat line for Cade. He had 23 points and 56% shooting. That's fine. Yeah, that's really good. Okay? You needed more than that from him. You needed 30 points from him tonight. You needed him to take 20-plus shots. If he would have shot I don't care if he would have taken the 9 of 16. If he ended up shooting 9 of 22, I would have rather have taken that, to be honest. I would have rather have seen him go out swinging and emptying out the case rather than I feel like he was a bit passive. And they were generating decent looks, I'd say, the Pistons. Decent look, I guess. But it just felt like the shots were being too evenly distributed throughout the team, and it shouldn't be that case. In a game like this, it should not be evenly distributed. Cade should be leading the way by far and have a lot more shots than this. You need him to be more aggressive in this game. That's the only thing I have for Cade. Again, he shot well from the floor. There are a few things they did in this game that I hope they do moving forward with Cade, like getting him some off-the-ball threes, like having him come off screens and hitting threes off the move. I think he can really do that. I think that would be a good way to free up good looks for him. But you need more than 16 shots from him. He was efficient, but that's why at the end of the day when people talk about efficiency, it's not everything. I would have rather have had a more inefficient game from Cade that came with more shots and more aggressive shot making or shot creation from him, rather than him just try to be efficient and take less shots. I would have rather seen that in this game. But that's my criticism for Cade in this game. I wanted to see him be more aggressive trying to score, get him his shot. But that's not the main reason why the Pistons lost. I know I want to talk about the season falling apart potentially, but I want to get even further into this game. There's other stuff that happened in this game that I really want to break down. We'll talk about it when we come back. I'm a procrastinator. I wait to the last second with just about everything. I wait to the last minute, especially when it comes to purchasing tickets. And it often screws me over. But with Game Time, it absolutely saves me because you get last minute deals all the way up again to the last minute. And sometimes even after the event has already started. And another great thing that I love about Game Time is the fact that you can see the view from your seat from within the app. No longer you get the tickets show up at the event wondering, is this the right seat for me? No, you can see right within the app whether this seat is for you. You also get the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is also covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Now I got to tell you guys about another one of our sponsors, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has made it daily fantasy sports more accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Again, Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which I absolutely love, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Prize Picks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDINNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDINNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. All right, so another tough thing about this loss, I can't come on here and Pistons fans can't come out and say this team deserves recognition or Cade deserves this recognition or this person deserves this or whatever. You can't come out here and say that when you have a chance in a big-time game with people watching, paying attention, with a chance to move forward in an attorney, and you show up like this. You just can't. You can't come out and say, well, this person deserves this or this team deserves that. They had their chance. These are in spots like this. It's spots like this that you have to show up. They didn't even have to win the game. They had to keep it competitive. They had to keep the game interesting. They had to show that they were ready to win this game, and they had a chance to win. And they didn't show that. The Bucks dominated from the damn near the opening tip-off. It just wasn't close. And this is the kind of game that has people tune out off your team. This is the kind of game that you have more people watching and people immediately dismiss you and now don't pay attention to you for the next few months. And this is also the type of game, and we'll see what this team is made of, but that can also affect you mentally and turn your season sideways. So this was just a straight-up disappointing game. From the get, it was a disappointing game from the Pistons. A lot of fans were at the game too. At times when they had explosive plays like an Asar Thompson breakaway dunk, the crowd got wild. They were waiting, begging the Pistons to give them something to get excited and get rowdy about, and they just weren't doing that. It was an extremely disappointing atmosphere, and most disappointing game, I think, in quite some time. Again, you didn't even have to win the game. You just had to keep it competitive, and they couldn't do that. It was very disappointing. But I talked about Cade, so here's some other parts I want to discuss from the game, and then we'll get to talking about the season. They need more from Jaden Ivey in this game. I thought Jaden Ivey's shot selection was maybe his worst in, I can't remember the last one, but I really did not like the shots he was choosing to take in this game. I didn't like his decision-making in this game either. They need a lot more from him in this game. The backcourt is supposed to be the foundation of this team. That's supposed to be what drives this team. And despite, look, I want Cade to shoot more. I think he should have shot more. And he had 4 turnovers. Not crazy bad, to be honest, but you probably would like him to have 2 or 3. Like Giannis had 6 on the other side. Like it just happens. 4, I've said to you guys, I'd like to be 3 to 4. But some of the turnovers were really bad, especially in the second quarter. He had 2 that were really bad. But like I said, despite that, he did have 23 points on 9 of 16 shooting. So he could have done more. You want him to do more. I want him to do more. But he didn't have a bad game. You need your backcourt to show up for a game like this. I really wasn't happy with how Jaden Ivey played. I thought he really struggled against the Milwaukee Bucks defense. They forced him into a lot of tough shots, a lot of bad decisions. Just need better from Jaden Ivey. I want to know when Asar Thompson's going to come off the minutes restriction. It's probably going to be a few weeks, I'm going to assume. And it's going to be really hard for this team to really maximize his minutes with that being the case. In this game, he played 14 minutes, and they were even in his minutes. 8 points, 5 rebounds. Look, he is the only option defensively on the perimeter that gives them a chance to sustain. When he was in the game, he did his thing defensively. When he was in the game, you saw how he's impacting the team. Every time he touches the ball, it feels like he's creating an open shot in the half court. It seems like he's creating an open shot in transition. He's just that explosive of an athlete, it causes the defense to react. So, honestly, if you want to draw one positive, I think it's that you're seeing Asar Thompson slowly get into shape. But it's just another one of those things like, man, you can only get 14 minutes out of him right now. And I feel like maybe the game could have been better if you're able to start Asar on Dame in the starting lineup and you have that kind of tone from the get-go and he's able to play 30 minutes, maybe this game goes differently. Because I do think the Pistons played soft as the game went on. I think they played soft as the game went on. That's a serious accusation, But watching the game, I don't think they matched the Bucks' physicality at all, especially as the game went on. Does that change if you're able to start Asar, your best defender, one of your most physical defenders, and play him 30-plus minutes? Maybe it does. But you just don't have that option right now because he's on that minutes restriction, because he's been gone for 9 months. So it's understandable. I'm just saying that, like, man, it's a, you can look at it glass half full, like, okay, you see what he's bringing when he gets to full-time minutes. And then it's also glass half empty. And it's like, man, you really would like to get more minutes out of this. But it's just a tough situation there. Again, I already talked about with Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart. I actually thought Jalen Duren had his best start to a game all year. The first, 6 minutes, he was fantastic. After that, started to wane a little bit. But, look, Giannis is a tough matchup for anybody. And especially for Jalen Duren. I'm not going to hold the fact that he's fouling against Giannis, really against him that much. You'd like to see him defend him a little better, but I mean, it's Giannis, bro. I can't tell you guys enough. If you're there at the game and you were close enough to see, Giannis is just physically imposing on literally anyone that's guarding him. He's so much stronger than anybody else. And JB talked about this after the game. You want to try to guard him with the body, but Giannis likes to engage you in the hand-to-hand combat. If you play basketball, when you're driving to the basket and you're operating with the ball in your hands, the hand-to-hand combat is a big part of your ability to get to the rim. Guys like to put their hands out. Guys like to put their forearms out like this. And when you drive, you play that hand combat. You like to swipe down. You like to swipe up. You like to rip your arms up. You have to be able to do that. Giannis is fantastic at doing that while also being physical with his body, with his shoulders. He's an incredibly hard guard. Especially because I saw that he's one of the most elite pull-up shooters this year. From mid-range. He was killing him with that too. So, I mean, if he's damn near unstoppable to guard at that point. So, I'm not going to hold it too much against Jalen Duren that he was in foul trouble, because Stu was too. It's just a tough guard. It's an incredibly tough guard, man. I don't expect him to be able to stop Giannis. It's just hard. You're not going to be able to, especially with this team. You'd like to have an Aaron Gordon type on your team that you could put on him, not your center, and get them into foul trouble and then just, lose both of them. You'd rather have that, but the Pistons don't have that type of roster. So, it is what it is. Outside of that, man, I'd like to see them make more threes, take more threes. The Bucks took 41 threes in this game. The Pistons only took 33. They only took 10 in the first quarter. The Bucks, I believe, had 20. Actually, in the first half, I think the Bucks had double the amount of threes the Pistons had. You're just not going to survive that way. And that's really it, man. It's a disappointing game. Guys weren't as aggressive as you'd like to see them be as the game went on, and guys struggled against the Bucks' defensive pressure. And look, if you want to just be honest, the Bucks are just a flat-out better team than the Pistons. I mean, that's just what it is. They have Giannis and Dame, and that's the difference. Those guys caused mismatches all over the floor for the Pistons. They don't have any answer for Giannis. Giannis missed one shot all night, man. He shot 10 of 11. I don't know what, there's nothing you can do with that. I don't know what to tell you. He did that in 27 minutes. Giannis is just the best player on the floor. He's going to be the best player on the floor, and the Pistons don't have someone to guard him. And then you got Dame, who, if you're going to guard him with THJ and Malik Beasley, you're just cooked. It just is what if you want to boil it down to the most simplest of terms, I mean, that's it right there. That's it right there. The team just does. The Pistons don't have the defensive personnel to match up with the Bucks, and offensively, their stars weren't aggressive enough. Cade had a fine game, just wasn't aggressive enough, and Ivy had a really bad one. And especially against Giannis and Dame, if that's what's going to happen with your backcourt, you're going to get blown out. That's what's going to happen. And you didn't have a vintage Malik Beasley performance to save you from that. You didn't have a vintage Tobias or Tim Hardaway Jr. performance to save you from that. Tobias actually did his thing. THJ was fine. The Pistons needed more from Cade and Jane Ivey. And sadly, they need more defensively. I just don't know where they could have got it from. So that's my overall thoughts for this game, man. It's just really disappointing. They had a chance to really put the world, not the world, let me not say the world, but the NBA fan base on the map, really kind of let people know, hey, we're here, we're playing well. Even if they lost, we're here, we're playing well, you need to respect us, and we have guys coming up. After this game, I guarantee you everyone's kind of just oh, the Pistons. They're the Pistons. Who cares? It's just a disappointing game. I feel for the fans, too, because the fans were so hyped for this game. I saw all of you guys at the game, getting into the game, in the community, on Twitter, on all social media platforms. I saw how excited. I saw people talking about it at my job. Like, people were excited for this game tonight, and it's just, they were let down with this performance, man. You don't need to beat the Bucks. You don't have to beat the Bucks. But you can't get blown out from the get-go, man. I mean, that's just disappointing. They're better than that, and they just didn't perform up to standard. So, that's it. That's all I've got with the game. When we come back, I want to talk about whether the season's falling apart and kind of look ahead to the future games. We may not be able to get to looking ahead. We're probably just going to end up talking about the season falling apart. My goodness. We're probably just going to talk about the season potentially falling apart. We'll discuss it, my God, when we come back. We've all been there, spending more than we should during the holidays. Take control of your finances by using a Chime checking account with features like no monthly or maintenance fees, fee-free, my goodness, overdraft up to $200, or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Learn more at chime.com/NBA. Chime helps you with fee-free overdraft up to $200. Your next deposit is applied to your balance. Get spotted on debit card purchases and cash withdrawals. No monthly fees or maintenance fees, and over 50,000 fee-free ATMs. Eligible items get complimentary boosts to temporarily increase a friend's Spot Me limit. When you give a boost, they can boost you back to temporarily raise your limit. Set up a direct deposit in your Chime account after qualifying direct deposit of $200 plus. Chime will notify you to enroll in Spot Me. With an activated debit card, Chime will spot you up to $200 on debit card purchases and cash withdrawals. Your next direct deposit is applied to your negative balance. Chime never charges overdraft fees for using Spot Me. Enjoy the holidays while keeping your financial goals on track with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/NBA. That's chime.com/NBA. Chime feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Spot Me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Direct deposit timing depends on submission of payment file. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs and for OTC withdrawals. Chime feels like progress. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Is the season slipping away from the Detroit Pistons? It could be. It could be. Remember, I told you guys weeks ago that they had to have a strong November because that was the softer part of their schedule, and they had to take advantage of it. And in November, they went 8-9. That was not good enough. It just wasn't. I tried telling you guys they had to have a really good November, and they just didn't, and now it's going to bite them. It's going to bite them. They didn't take advantage of wins that they should have gotten. They blew a lot of games at the end that they should have won. And now they have lost, they're 2-6 in their last 8 games. 3 of their last 4 games, they've lost by double digits, been blowouts. The Bucks, the Sixers, and the Memphis Grizzlies, who are not a great team and didn't have Ja Morant. I know they didn't have Cade, but the Grizzlies didn't have multiple players, including Ja, and they got blown out against the Grizzlies. They lost by double figures to the Orlando Magic. They lost by double figures to the Chicago Bulls. Like, they have not played well in the last week and a half. Since, they've been inconsistent since, the November 20th around there. They've been inconsistent, and they didn't take advantage of their schedule in November. Now they lose this game to Milwaukee. All that massive energy, all that, positivity heading into the in-season tournament, what you were generating from the in-season tournament, being 3-0, blowing out the Pacers on November 29th, last Friday, having all that momentum is completely gone with how you played against the Bucks. And it's not like the schedule forgives you or feels bad for you. It just keeps going. So now you got this negative, atmosphere, this big letdown. You're not playing well over the last week and a half. You're 2-6 in your last 8. And now this is what your schedule is immediately coming up after this. Back end of a back-to-back, you got Boston tonight. Then after Boston, you play New York on Saturday. Then you got the Suns 2 weeks after that. They got a long break because of the in-season tourney. So it's basically 2 games after that. It's not 2 weeks makes it seem like it's like 5 games. No, it's only 2 games after that. Then you got the Suns, the Lakers, the Kings, the Nuggets, the Magic. Like, now the schedule is about to come after you. And you've struggled as of late. You didn't take advantage of November. You didn't take advantage of the momentum you created in the in-season tournament. You didn't do any of that. All that's fallen apart. And to add on top of that, the concern that I brought up to you guys earlier in the podcast, the concern I brought up to you guys about a week and a half ago, the concern I brought up with Bryce on the last episode, the concern Bryce brought up on the last episode, the Pistons defense is starting to revert to the mean, and the Pistons defense is starting to fall apart. This defense, they do not, I'm going to say it one more time, I've said it 30,000 times it feels like, they do not have great defensive personnel. And especially while Asar Thompson is going to be on this minutes restriction, can JB keep them in like the middle third of the league? Maybe. Can they be in the top 20, like 19, 18, 20th defense? Maybe. But are they going to be a top 10 defense like they were the first 13 games of the year? No, that's not. This team is not that good defensively. They don't have that defensive talent. And they've been slowly falling ever since then. Going into this game, they were around 13th, 14th. After this game, they're going to fall even farther. Going against Boston and New York, I promise you it's going to fall even farther. And there is a chance in the next week and a half, you could be looking at a team that had a top 15 defense and a bottom 10 offense. You may be seeing a team that has now had a bottom 10 defense and a bottom 10 offense in just a week and a half, 2 weeks. You could see that happening for the Pistons. So a promising start to the year with the soft schedule in November they could have taken advantage of. They did not. Now they've sucked up all the positivity they had going into the in-season tournament with this game. Their defense is slowly starting to fall apart, and their offense hasn't been catching up. Now, if the offense starts to catch up as the defense falls, that will be what their saving grace is. And that's what the hope is. That's what the hope was this offseason. That's what I expected to happen this offseason. It hasn't happened yet. So could it happen? 100%. And if it does, they could be fine. They could survive this. But they need their offense to catch up. Because I'm telling you guys, I am going to be utterly, completely shocked if the defense does not continue to fall. And the only way to counteract that is by using your offensive heavy roster. The team puts so many resources into the offense. The only way they can counter that is by those resources they put into their offense, the talent that they have offensively, to eventually show up and for them to, as the defense is falling, the offense starts to rise up. If that happens, maybe they can weather this storm and they can be fine. But if that doesn't happen, it could go sideways quick. It could start to go sideways quick. And I don't think anyone likes that. No one wants that to happen, but you're trending on dangerous waters here. You're dancing on the line. You're dancing on the line. Remember the Pistons at one point were like 5th in the East? Yet now they've fallen all the way to 11th. So they're in their last 10, they're 4-6. It's just not good, man. They're not in a good position. They need their offense to pick up, and they need to bounce back from this mentally draining, I predict, a mentally draining, disappointing end to your in-season tournament. If this is a better team than last year, a stronger team mentally than last year, they'll bounce back from this and not let it keep them down. But having Boston and New York right after it, it's not a great way to keep your spirits high. I'm going to tell you that. So, look, I know I've tried to, we've been positive majority of this year, but tonight, recording this, I can't help but be pessimistic. This was pretty damn disappointing. So, and the immediate future is not looking too good for him either. So let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Cuckoo Hill how you guys are feeling about this. How disappointed are you? Are you worried about the future? Are you worried about this team falling apart, this season falling apart? Let me know again, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Cuckoo Hill. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Till next time, peace out.